Hello everyone. We have here a 2011 Chrysler 200 3.6 V6, and we had some overheating issues with it, so I changed out the thermostat and it's still overheated. Next, we changed out we noticed that in the coolant reservoir that it was kind of gummy in there, so we changed out the radiator, we changed the water pump, and we changed the heater core. We did a modification and changed the heater core in it. Did all that, put it back in, put a new coolant tank on here with a new cap, filled it back up with 50% Zerex G05 coolant. So that's Zerex G05 coolant, and it still tried to overheat with all the new parts in there. So I was thinking the head gasket. What I did was I drained it back out. I decided to take out the thermostat out of the housing there and run it a straight water through the system. Oh, we did do a flush. We did do a flush on it. We bought a flush kit from the local parts store. Didn't use it, so I took it back, but I used a garden hose, hooked it up to a few different hoses. We hooked it up to the, what's this right here? I don't even know what that is. Hooked it up to the radiator hose, the hose going to the thermostat, and kind of flushed it out different ways from the bottom to the top, and got some gunk out of there. It's still some buildup in there, so got it out and did it that way. Then when I did it that way and took the thermostat out and flushed it out, been running straight water, tap water in there for the past 2 days, and it has not gotten over halfway. It has not gotten over halfway. Before that, it was taking 10 minutes, and you can see the temperature start rising on it. But now it's been running fine in the last 2 days here. So I'm gonna put the new thermostat that I took out. I'm gonna put that back in to see if it starts to overheat again, and in that way I'm pretty sure that the new thermostat could be bad, or it could be something else. So we'll see. Yep, but when I did the flush here, there's the thermostat housing here. Thermostat's inside there, but there's no thermostat in there right now. Took it out, running straight water. But what I did was I unplugged this radiator hose right here that goes up to the radiator. Took that off, put it out, and did a flush this way. Did a flush that way that goes through the pipe into the block here through the thermostat housing. And I had it coming out the bottom of the radiator with the drain plug down there. There's a drain plug on the front passenger side of the radiator. You got to screw out, and I flushed it out that way. Then I reversed the hose. I put this hose back on there, disconnected it right here, and flushed it out that way. Oh, I know what I did. I flushed it out when I took this one off and flushed it this way. I took the hose that's connecting the water pump. You see my finger down there, 2 shiny pipes. I took the bigger pipe, that's the water pump hose outlet. Well, I took that pipe off. Yeah, I took that clamp off right there and let it flush through the bottom of the water pump. Then I flushed it another way, and I had it coming out of the coolant tank. So I did about 4 different ways on here to flush and get all the gunk out or whatnot. And then it's been running fine ever since, but it has no thermostat in there. We're about to put the thermostat back in and see what we got going on. But it's a new thermostat housing, and thermostat that came in one piece from the local parts store, about 20 bucks. And we're going to see if that's the culprit right there again. All right, so we took the pipe off. It was full of water, and we had a drain pan up under there. Even though it's water, still want to catch it. Had a drain pan, got gloves on. Now we're going to use a 10mm ratchet socket, or a socket ratchet, whatever you want to call it there, to take the 2 bolts off the thermostat, one right here and one below here on my finger right here that's touching right there in the middle, my bird finger. So we're going to take that off right there. Take the thermostat housing and put the thermostat back in. All right, so I got the housing off. Those 2 10mm bolts that come out there, see, on the top and on the bottom, and some tight space over there on the 200. If you got medium to big hands, which I do, so tight space in there. But I think I've had it on and off 2 or 3 times in the last few days, so no big deal. Just a couple of more scratches. And so when I bought this thermostat housing, it came with the thermostat housing and thermostat already in here. And this is how it goes in. It goes in like that. Y'all please forgive me because I don't have a stand and I don't have a cameraman. Okay, goes right into the hole. It sets down in there. Then you have like a retaining clip. We'll slide it on top of this. We'll cock it sideways. We'll press it down and we'll hook this part right up in the grooves there. Right up in there, and it'll be secure. All right, so there it is right there. Got some good pressure on there to get it down in there, but once you get it in there, it clicks right in place. See, it's got the guardrails holding it in, and we just pretty much just put it back in. We're going to put it back in, then we're going to fill it back up with straight water like it was without the thermostat. And also, you can buy the thermostat by itself, not the whole housing, and you have to kind of put it all together like that. But this housing is like 20 bucks, so yeah. Might as well just buy the whole housing. It's got a bleeder valve right there to bleed the air out, bleed some of the air out. We're going to slap it back in, fill it up with water, and bleed it out a little bit. Take it on a test ride. All right, so I'm putting the thermostat back in, and I always want to put one of the top bolts in first just to hold it secure in there. Then I'll work on the bottom there. Man, does anybody else put screws and bolts in their mouth while they're trying to put another one in? Just a question. All right, got the thermostat back on, thermostat housing in there. The 2 10mm bolts. What I always do is when I'm screwing them back in, on the bottom one, I will take both my hands and kind of screw it in. I take one hand and come from the fastener side, and the other hand on the other side of it, and kind of just twist it all with my fingers. So it's, like I said, it's a tight squeeze for me. So I use 2 hands to get it snug, and on the top one I can just use 1 hand and get it snug. And I can't remember the torque on that. I think the torque's like 8 pounds, but you know, be sure for yourself. I'm not a certified mechanic, so I kind of just snugged them down pretty good. Got them snugged and tightened them a little bit more. And that way we got it running here. We're about to fill it back up with just some straight water right now and run it that way for a little while, and see how it does with the thermostat in there. If all goes well, I will drain all the water out. I'll add the proper antifreeze. I'm going to use a Xerox G05, and I will use distilled water. But for right now, we're going to run it with straight water and see how I do. And I also got the car running now. I've got the heater on blast. Some people say put the heater on low fan, but I got it on all the way high fan. And I'll probably go in there and raise the RPM to about 2,500, 3,000. Try to get some of the air bubbles out, air pockets out. Got a bleeder screw right there, so I'll open that up and hopefully see some water coming out. I will squeeze on this coolant hose, this radiator hose here. I'll squeeze on that to try to get some of the air bubbles out. Then I'm going to close up the top. Then we're going to go out for a spin. So we on the old test drive. I've got someone else filming, so I'm not driving and recording, but we're on a test drive. The mileage there, checking out the temperature gauge. Been running the car's been running for about 15 minutes idle, and now we out on the road. seemed like the thermostat opened up when I had it idling and warming up there. And so we're just going to keep an eye on that. First time driving this car, it took about maybe 15 minutes of driving on the way back, and that's when I noticed it starts to overheat. So we're going to keep an eye on it, but so far it's staying right there in the middle directly. Couldn't be any more. The center is right there in between like two marks perfectly. I'll let you know. 87 degrees out here. It's got to be hotter than 87. I promise you that. Promise you. So been driving for about 25-30 minutes, and the temperature has stayed right dead center in the middle. So I think we have success on radiator, water pump, thermostat, new coolant reservoir, and a new heater core. I think the main thing, it was clogged. You can't mix any type of coolant in these Chrysler 200s. You have to make sure that you get this the right type of coolant that's for your year and engine. I know 2011 is different from 2012, so you got to be careful to get the right coolant for your car. I think the main thing was the system was gummed up, and they got all the old parts out and put new parts in it. But the flush really cleared out the stuff that was in the engine block. So we did a flush with some water hose, and did that a few times, and it's been running well ever since. Last few days without a thermostat in, and so far today, for the last about 30 minutes of driving and 45 minutes of idling and running total, it's still dead center. So yeah, we got a success here. Hey, subscribe, hit that like button, share, do all those things. If you found this video interesting and helpful to you, go ahead and click like. Hey, I want to say, doing this job, make sure that you capture all the antifreeze that comes out when you do the drain in a container or in the drain pan, and put it in the empty cooling jar that you have, a jug. So it's harmful to the environment. So make sure you get all of that stuff up, and try as best not to get it on the environment. And also to wear gloves, because when you're touching these parts, and you bleed in the system, you know, the hoses can get very hot. And I would say the key things on this particular car that caused it to overheat was probably the mixture of different coolants in the system, because these cars, they require a specific type of coolant, and I would definitely pick out the one that's designated for this particular car. Because I know on the 2011 and 2012 is a little bit different on what they require as far as coolant. So make sure you do your research on that. Put the proper coolant in, and make sure you mix it with distilled water, and do it that way. But yeah, the cooling system and the fluid, the coolant, and also make sure that you bleed it properly. It took me a while to get all the air out, and it took me a while to get some of the water to come out of the bleeder valve. So just make sure that you're bleeding it very good. You might have to do it a few times. Make sure you get a brand new reservoir cap, because those things can get bad. So yeah, do all those things. Hey, like, subscribe, comment. I know I've missed out on a few things, so if you can comment, this is my very first video, and so we can just go from there. I appreciate it.